You've walked across that soft airport carpet before security, the one that feels oddly calming under your feet. But that comfort's not an accident. It's there to steer you. From the moment your shoes hit it, your stride slows, your breathing eases, and without realizing it, you're already moving to the tempo the airport sets for you. Airports run on psychology, not coincidence. Nothing inside them is random. The golden glow of the lights, the smell of roasted coffee wafting from a single open cafe, the way each hallway bends just enough to hide what's around the corner. All of it shapes how you think, walk, and spend. And airlines? They've mastered the same playbook. Sudden gate changes that make you march past more shops. Priority boarding groups that create tiny status wars. Perfectly timed push alerts that pop up right when your patience runs thin. It's all part of a quiet choreography designed to guide you without ever asking. Once you start seeing those patterns, the whole place changes. The signs, the music, even that cozy carpet stop feeling like background noise and start to look like a script. One that was written for you, not by you. So let's start with the move airlines use long before you even reach the gate. The one that can split up families, frustrate friends, and quietly push you to pull out your credit card. The seat selection shuffle. There was a time when sitting together on a plane was just expected. You booked one ticket, your seats came together. It was simple, automatic, something we once took for granted. But somewhere along the way, that basic courtesy turned into a business model. Most travelers don't realize there's now an algorithm watching every booking. It doesn't just fill seats. It studies patterns, looking for groups that didn't pay for seat selection. And when it finds them, it splits them apart. Budget carriers like Ryanair, Spirit, and Wizz Air have turned this into an art form. Their booking systems detect when several people are on one reservation, and if you didn't pay for seats, they split you up on purpose. One person ends up by the window, another in the middle of a crying baby row, someone else near the lavatory. The message lands without words. Next time, pay the fee. Ryanair even admitted that its so-called random allocation could separate families, and European regulators began investigating the practice back in 2017. Consumer groups called it profiteering. Airlines preferred the word choice. Either way, it's a billion-dollar upsell wrapped in a smile. And it works because it plays on anxiety, not logic. Parents don't want their child sitting next to a stranger. Couples don't want to spend 5 hours texting each other from different rows. The discomfort is the point. It pushes you toward the premium option that used to be free. If you want to dodge the game, timing helps. Log in as soon as online check-in opens. Some airlines release unassigned seats for free during that window. And if you're flying with kids under 12, know your rights. Most countries require airlines to seat one adult beside a minor without charge. Otherwise, your last hope is human kindness. A gate agent in a good mood. A passenger willing to trade. Sometimes it works, sometimes not. Something changes the moment you are near airport security. The air feels thicker, the chatter dims, and even the sound of rolling luggage starts to fade. That hush isn't accidental, it's engineered. Long before you meet a TSA officer, the space itself begins to manage your behavior. Airport planners and environmental designers use flooring transitions, shifting from hard tile to soft carpet, paired with acoustic dampening, warmer lights, and slower directional cues. Those material changes signal your body to recalibrate. You slow your pace, lower your voice, and move in quiet unison with everyone around you. No one gives instructions, the architecture does. The carpet might look like a small luxury, but it serves a deeper purpose. By absorbing vibration and muting footsteps, it regulates movement and brings order to the crowd. This is spatial conditioning at work, a gentle reset between the chaos of the terminal and the authority of security. The line doesn't flow because people are disciplined. It flows because the space teaches them how. And beyond order lies opportunity. Once passengers have been guided into that slower tempo, they stop rushing. Retail designers know this well. Travelers who feel unhurried browse longer and spend more. A DKMA study found that passengers walking on carpeted surfaces were significantly more likely to pause and buy than those on hard floors. What feels like relaxation before screening quietly becomes readiness to shop afterward. Airports rely on that emotional pacing. The design doesn't just move you, it fine-tunes your tempo. Tension peaks near the checkpoint, settles into focus by the gates, and then drifts toward indulgence near the shops. That smooth emotional curve keeps operations efficient and tills ringing. And just when you think you've found your balance again, another subtle cue appears. A gate change, a glowing sign, a new announcement, nudging you forward into the next phase of the airport's choreography. Not long ago, walking up to the check-in counter was just normal. You showed your passport, the agent smiled, printed your boarding pass, and wished you a pleasant flight. No fees, no warnings, no fine print. Then, almost unnoticed, that simple ritual became another transaction. Budget airlines were the first to turn the counter into a profit center. What used to be part of the ticket price is now treated like a luxury add-on. Miss online check-in? Forgot to print your boarding pass? You'll pay for it, sometimes more than your actual seat. Take AirAsia, for instance. If you show up at the airport without checking in online, the airline can charge up to 30 ringgit, around $7 just to print your pass. Ryanair takes it even further. Forget that one PDF attachment, and you could be hit with a €55 administration fee. That's not a coffee surcharge, that's a lesson in digital obedience. The trick hides in the small print. Somewhere deep inside the confirmation email or the carrier's terms, there's a line about airport check-in fees. Few people ever notice it. And that's the point. The policy isn't designed for convenience. It's designed to penalize forgetfulness. What used to be an essential service has been steadily reshaped into a new stream of revenue. It's clever in a slightly sinister way. By pushing passengers to check in online, airlines save staffing costs and shift the workload onto travelers. You become your own agent, printing the pass, tagging the bag, even scanning your own barcode at the gate. Every minute you spend doing their job is a minute they don't have to pay someone to do it. And if you slip up, the system profits. The worst part is who it targets. Older travelers, non-native speakers, or anyone unfamiliar with the app-driven process end up paying the most. The design feels neutral, but the outcome isn't. It rewards tech fluency and punishes hesitation. If you ever wonder why airlines push endless self-service upgrades, this is why. Efficiency sells well, but confusion sells better. Gate changes have a strange way of testing your patience. You settle near B2, unwrap a snack, maybe reply to a few messages. Then blink, the monitor updates. Now boarding at C28. You sigh, stand up, and begin that familiar airport pilgrimage through endless hallways, wondering why your gate always seems to be the one that moved. It feels random, but airports rarely leave movement to chance. Modern terminals are designed around a single principle: people who walk, spend. Every extra minute between security and boarding feeds what insiders call dwell time, the golden window when you're stuck, captive, and open to distraction. The longer you wander, the greater the odds you'll stop for a coffee, browse a display, or grab a souvenir you never meant to buy. Some airports have turned this into an art form. In Singapore's Changi Airport, pathways are flanked with gardens, kinetic sculptures, and waterfall views that slow your stride, strategically placed between high-end boutiques. Even Atlanta's concourses use subtle shifts in lighting and scent to pull travelers toward dining zones before they ever reach their gate. According to data shared by Airports Council International, just a 10% rise in dwell time can boost non-aeronautical revenue by roughly 5%. That's why some last-minute gate swaps have perfect timing, rerouting foot traffic through quieter retail sections without announcing it as strategy. It keeps crowds balanced and tills ringing, all under the guise of logistics. Of course, many gate changes are purely operational: weather delays, aircraft rotations, maintenance issues. But others line up a little too neatly with the rhythm of the terminal. They keep passengers flowing through the spaces that make airports their real money. Not the runways, but the walkways. So when your gate suddenly jumps to the other end of the terminal, don't take it personally. That detour isn't just a stroll. It's part of the choreography that turns every traveler into the perfect customer, one corridor at a time. The moment the boarding announcement begins, the energy in the room shifts. Conversations trail off, phones lower, and everyone instinctively checks their pass.
Group 1 may now board.
Those few words are enough to redraw the social map of the gate. It's social engineering at its most elegant. Somewhere along the way, airlines learned how to turn order into aspiration. They didn't need to change the seats or the snacks, just the sequence of who walks first. The numbered groups became a miniature caste system, existing for 15 minutes but echoing long after the flight. The brilliance lies in how ordinary it feels. Boarding first doesn't save much time, yet it feels like it does. It protects you from the small humiliations, running out of bin space, bumping elbows down the aisle, passing row after row of people already settled in. That sense of being ahead, even for a moment, is enough to make thousands pay a little more for priority. And it costs the airlines almost nothing. A different number on a boarding pass, a new line in the app, that's all it takes to turn routine into privilege. Each upgrade sold is a ticket to reassurance, not ease. Everything about the gate reinforces the performance. The retractable barriers, the glowing screens, the rhythm of announcements, they're all part of a psychological setup that builds anticipation and measures worth by proximity to the jet bridge. What looks like simple organization is, in fact, emotional design, an experience calibrated to make waiting feel competitive. By the time the last group boards, everyone's in the same cabin breathing the same air, yet the hierarchy lingers. Some settle in with a small glow of triumph. Others sink back with that half-conscious feeling of having arrived just a step behind. That's the subtle genius of the system. It sells emotion disguised as efficiency. It's hard to resist that glow. You step off the escalator, and there it is. The glass, the light, the promise. Bottles lined up like trophies, perfumes misted into the air, chocolates stacked in pyramids of temptation. The signs whisper duty-free in gold letters, and for a moment it seems you've found a secret portal where prices don't apply. But that golden promise hides a clever trick. Tax-free isn't the same as cheap. What you're skipping in government duty, you're paying back in airport rent, brand markups, and the small thrill of thinking you've scored a deal. The truth is, many bargains on those shelves would cost the same or less at a city mall. The brilliance lies in how the space feels, not what it sells. Airports know travelers arrive in a peculiar state of mind. Stressed, bored, half detached from real-world logic. The lighting softens, the music slows, the air smells faintly of luxury. You stop thinking in numbers and start thinking in moods. After the rush of security and schedules, the store becomes permission to breathe and to buy. And that's where the magic happens. With your guard down and your sense of time blurring, every shelf becomes a small reward for surviving the journey so far. A bottle of whiskey for later, a perfume as a gift, a watch you suddenly deserve. You're not shopping. You're self-soothing in a perfectly designed environment. The path itself is the trap. Airports rarely let you walk past duty-free. They make you walk through it. Corridors twist and narrow, pulling you deeper until you emerge, lighter in wallet, heavier in bags. Studies in airport retail show nearly half of all purchases are unplanned, decided within minutes. Travelers buy less for savings and more to regain a tiny bit of control, the quick surge that comes from thinking they've outsmarted the system, even when the system already planned for it. That's the hidden genius of duty-free. It turns a simple stroll to your gate into a victory lap you didn't actually win. You're sitting at the gate, half distracted and half exhausted. The flight's still boarding other groups, your phone's in your hand, and then, ping. A notification lights up the screen. Upgrade to priority boarding, only $29. You weren't thinking about upgrades. You were just scrolling, waiting. But that tiny alert lands with surgical precision. It's not random. It's designed to find you when your patience runs thin and your focus slips. Airlines have mastered what tech companies perfected years ago. Emotion follows a rhythm. The longer you wait, the more your grip on control starts to erode. The gate becomes a waiting room for frustration, and in that quiet lull, an offer that restores control suddenly feels comforting. The notification isn't just well-timed, it's well-aimed. Every detail is deliberate. The wording is soft, the tone flattering. Enjoy early boarding. Make your trip smoother. Treat yourself. Behind that friendly tone is an enormous feedback loop. Airline apps watch everything. When you check in, which seat you pick, how often you browse upgrades, even how long you pause before clicking confirm. Algorithms learn your travel habits the way streaming platforms learn your taste in shows. The next time they reach out, the message feels personal because, statistically, it is. This approach has reshaped in-flight revenue. Instead of selling new products, airlines repackage timing as the product itself. A seat doesn't change, but its moment of offer does. And that moment decides whether you resist or cave. You might tell yourself it's a small indulgence, a way to make the trip less stressful. Multiply that feeling across thousands of flights and millions of passengers, and you get an invisible marketplace powered entirely by hesitation. In today's airports, temptation no longer flashes from a storefront or display case. It hums softly in your pocket, waiting for the exact heartbeat when maybe later becomes why not. Among all the noise of an airport, boarding calls, gate changes, rolling suitcases, there's one signal everyone listens for: Wi-Fi. That glowing prompt on your screen, "Free airport network available," seems like a tiny act of kindness in a place built to charge for everything. But behind that brief sense of relief is one of the most sophisticated forms of data collection in modern travel. Free Wi-Fi is rarely free. It simply trades your connection for your information. Once you tap accept, the system begins mapping you. It records your device ID, location inside the terminal, browsing activity, and even how long you linger in certain zones. Some networks use that data to build heat maps of passenger movement, showing which stores draw attention and which corridors slow people down. It's surveillance disguised as service. The design of the login page tells the same story. The smooth fonts, bright icons, and friendly "click to connect" prompt aren't there to help you. They're there to make you skip reading the fine print. What looks like a convenience feature is actually a consent funnel, and the information doesn't stay local. Airport operators and third-party providers package those insights for advertisers who can target travelers in real time. Search for a carry-on once, and you'll start seeing luggage ads before you've even taken off. The Wi-Fi network isn't just connecting you, it's studying you, predicting your next click before you make it. The scale of this quiet trade is staggering. A major airport can log tens of thousands of connections each day, turning human behavior into one of its most profitable exports: audience data. Every scroll, search, or swipe adds a few more lines to your invisible profile. Still, most travelers keep signing on. Between delays, layovers, and dead zones of boredom, the word free is enough to override caution. The connection feels harmless, even generous. But look closer, and you'll see the real transaction. Airports provide bandwidth. You provide yourself. At cruising altitude, taste changes. A sip of tomato juice suddenly feels logical. A plastic cup of red wine feels richer than it should, and the smell of reheated pasta somehow becomes irresistible. It's not that airplane food gets better, it's that your body changes the rules. Up here, the cabin air is dry, the pressure lower, and your ability to smell, the main driver of flavor, is cut almost in half. Constant background noise further mutes how your brain interprets sweetness and salt. Airlines have spent decades learning to work around that. Their menus are built for altitude, not elegance, bold flavors, heavy seasoning, and plenty of umami to keep your taste buds awake in thin air. The serving of a meal does something subtle. It anchors the experience. When the trolley appears, the cabin shifts into rhythm. Trays down, wrappers peeled, drinks poured. That small ritual breaks up the endless stretch of time between takeoff and landing. It reminds your brain that the flight has a pulse, that progress is being made even when the view outside stays frozen. Every element of the presentation serves a purpose. The tidy compartments, the miniature condiments, the familiar question, chicken or pasta. They mimic the rituals of dining and trick the mind into calm. For a few minutes, the cabin stops feeling mechanical and starts feeling organized, almost domestic. Budget airlines use a different recipe for the same effect. When food costs extra, scarcity does the heavy lifting. Announcements like "only a few hot meals left" turn an average wrap into a limited edition indulgence. People buy not from hunger, but from impulse, driven by the fear that they'll miss out. Airline dining, in the end, is emotional design. It marks time, calms nerves, and offers passengers a brief glimpse of structure in a place that's anything but predictable. When the trays are cleared and the lights dim, the food itself fades from memory, but the order it created lingers long after dessert. Every traveler has had that moment, the sudden pause at security when the officer holds up your bag and says, "Is this yours?" You nod, already knowing what comes next. Out goes the lighter, the pocket knife, the souvenir bottle of olive oil you forgot about. It disappears behind the conveyor belt, never to be seen again. Or so it seems. Most people imagine confiscated items ending up in some endless warehouse, like the final scene of Indiana Jones. The truth is stranger and far more organized. At major airports, prohibited items don't vanish, they enter a second economy. After a short holding period, thousands of surrendered objects, tools, scissors, corkscrews, even kitchen knives are boxed, cataloged, and sold in bulk. Some go to state-run surplus warehouses or government auction sites where they're listed by the pound. Bidders range from resellers to collectors to curious travelers looking for a bargain on someone else's forgetfulness. Then there's the mystery of lost luggage. Airlines hold unclaimed bags for about 90 days, hoping the owner will surface. After that, they sell the contents wholesale to specialized buyers who sort, clean, and resell everything. Clothes, electronics, jewelry, through outlets like the Unclaimed Baggage Center in Alabama, which operates like a department store built entirely from travel mishaps. You can buy a stranger's camera, half a wardrobe, or a vintage watch that once circled the world. It's easy to think of this as waste management, but it's really profit recovery. Every misplaced or surrendered item becomes part of an aftermarket that turns traveler mistakes into steady revenue. Nothing is truly lost, just reassigned. Somewhere, your forgotten umbrella might be shading a cafe table in another city. A jacket you left on a flight could be hanging in someone else's closet. In the strange economy of air travel, even what slips through your fingers keeps moving, just without you on board. It happens when you least expect it. You're halfway through a layover, need a few bills for a taxi, and there it is. The airport ATM glowing like salvation between a newsstand and a coffee bar. One quick tap, and you're back in control. At least, that's what the screen wants you to think. Most airport ATMs aren't run by banks. They're managed by private currency operators who pay airports high rent for premium spots and make their money back through convenience. At London Heathrow, some of these machines add up to 12% in hidden costs per withdrawal. At Bangkok's Suvarnabhumi Airport, tourists have reported losing nearly 400 baht in fees on a single transaction, about the price of an entire meal outside the terminal. Right before the cash appears, the same friendly prompt flashes up. We offer conversion to your home currency for your convenience. It sounds polite, even helpful. But that line is the trap. When you press accept, you're agreeing to dynamic currency conversion, a system that lets the ATM, not your bank, set the exchange rate. Their version is almost always worse, sometimes by 8 to 10%. The difference feels tiny on screen, but it compounds fast. A $200 withdrawal might cost you $218. Then come the layers of small bites, a local usage fee, an international access charge, maybe another one from your bank at home. At New York's JFK, travelers have spotted terminals charging up to $7 per use before exchange penalties even begin. None of this is illegal. It's behavioral economics disguised as service. The placement isn't accidental either. These machines sit where your guard is lowest, after customs, beside gates, next to escalators. They rely on fatigue, not deception. When you're rushing, accept feels faster than compare. The only real defense is awareness. Withdraw cash from a bank ATM before arriving, or use a no foreign fee card and pay digitally. And if you must use the airport machine, always tap decline on that conversion offer. It's the quietest way to win. Because at the airport, even a machine knows how to turn your hurry into someone else's profit. There's a reason airport lounges always seem a little mysterious. The frosted glass, the soft lighting, the faint clink of cutlery, it all whispers luxury. From the outside, the place appears reserved for first-class passengers and frequent flyers who rack up miles like lottery tickets. But that velvet rope image is more marketing than truth. In reality, lounges aren't built just for the rich, they're built for revenue. Airlines and credit card companies discovered long ago that exclusivity sells, even when the door isn't locked. Anyone willing to pay, partner, or swipe the right card can get in. You don't need a suit or a status tier, you just need to know where to look. Take day passes. Many major airlines sell single-entry access for $30 to $60, less than what most travelers spend on airport food and drinks. A quick check in the airline's app or at the front desk can unlock the door. You won't see a big sign outside. The mirage of exclusivity is part of the charm. Credit cards turn the lounge into an industry of its own. Priority Pass, Amex Platinum, Capital One Venture X all come with access to hundreds of lounges worldwide. Some even allow guests full meals or showers before red eyes. The funny part? You might be sitting next to someone who walked in on a free pass while assuming they were a VIP. What really makes lounges valuable isn't the champagne or snacks. It's the contrast. Outside, you're a body in a line. Inside, you have time, space, and working outlets. The design sells calm by the square foot, and travelers buy it gladly. Airlines understand that better than anyone. They've turned peace and privacy into a product, and travelers into loyal subscribers. The lounge isn't a sanctuary for the elite. It's the airport's most carefully staged version of control. And when you finally step through that frosted door, the noise of the terminal slips away, replaced by the soft hum of espresso machines and the quiet certainty that you've entered a different kind of airport, one that was never really out of reach. You arrive at the gate, boarding pass in hand, and something feels off. The agent looks tense, the announcements stall, and then comes the line every frequent flyer dreads. We're currently seeking volunteers to take a later flight. Translation: the airline sold more tickets than seats. Overbooking isn't a mistake, it's a math problem that airlines have learned to solve in their favor. Algorithms predict how many passengers will cancel, miss connections, or switch itineraries. Selling a few extra seats keeps planes full and profits healthy. It usually works, until the day everyone actually shows up. That's when the scramble begins. The gate agents start looking for volunteers. First comes the gentle offer. Maybe a $200 voucher and a seat on the next flight. If no one moves, the offer rises. $400, $600, sometimes well over $1,000, plus hotel and upgrade perks. For travelers who decline, there's still risk. If no one volunteers, someone will eventually be bumped. Those who checked in last or don't have seat assignments sit at the top of that list. The lucky ones get rebooked with compensation. The unlucky get only apologies. Under U.S. Department of Transportation rules, though, passengers denied boarding involuntarily are owed up to 400% of their one-way fare, capped at $2,150, in cash, not just a voucher. Experienced flyers know how to turn this to their advantage. They arrive early, stay polite, and wait until the airline starts raising the stakes. When handled right, an inconvenience becomes a free hotel night, meal credits, and enough vouchers to fund the next trip. In the end, overbooking is less a disaster than a performance. Sometimes a plane takes off carrying more crew than passengers. The safety briefing echoes through a half-lit cabin, seatbelt signs flicker over rows of empty seats, and flight attendants move through the aisles with no one to serve. From a distance, it looks routine. Up close, it feels almost surreal. Welcome to the quiet economics of ghost flights. They exist not because airlines miscalculated, but because the system demands it. At major airports, takeoff and landing slots are treated like gold, limited, regulated, and fiercely protected. To keep those slots, carriers must use them a certain percentage of the time, typically around 80%, or risk losing them to competitors. The rule doesn't pause for low seasons, empty bookings, or global downturns. So when demand disappears, planes still fly. Not for passengers, but for the schedule. The cost of operating a near-empty flight can be steep, yet losing a valuable slot at Heathrow or Frankfurt can be far worse. It's aviation's version of paying rent on a property you can't afford to vacate. Lufthansa once acknowledged running around 18,000 such flights during a single winter season simply to preserve its future routes. British Airways and Air France have done the same. It's a strange form of corporate self-preservation, spending millions to maintain the right to spend millions more later. For the crew, these flights are eerie. Announcements echo, service ends early. Some passengers stretch out across empty rows, enjoying a luxury that was never meant to exist. But beneath that calm is a system locked in its own rules, too rigid to stop itself. Environmental groups have called ghost flights a climate absurdity, with jets burning thousands of gallons of fuel to move almost no one. Airlines defend the practice as a necessity until regulations catch up. You've probably heard the captain say it.
Good news, we've landed ahead of schedule.
The cabin exhales, the crew smiles, and for a brief second, everyone believes the flight somehow outran time itself. But that flash of triumph is pure strategy. The plane didn't move faster. The schedule did. Airlines quietly build extra minutes into almost every route. A trip that once took an hour might now appear as an hour and 15 on the timetable. On paper, it looks like reliability. In practice, it's a cushion, one that turns potential delays into perfect records. If the plane can't always be early, the paperwork can make sure it seems that way. The reason is image. Airlines live and die by on-time statistics, the numbers that drive rankings, airport privileges, and even executive bonuses. A 98% punctuality rate sounds like efficiency, but it's really expectation management dressed up as precision. This is timekeeping turned psychological. Passengers feel grateful, crews look competent, and satisfaction surveys spike. No one checks the schedule against last year's version. They simply enjoy the illusion of gain. Everyone wins, except the truth. And with every season, the buffers grow thicker. Flights that used to list 45 minutes now show 70. Cross-country routes stretch by another half hour. The extra padding absorbs air traffic delays and weather issues, but it also smooths the stats and keeps tempers calm. Airlines call it smart planning. Critics call it creative accounting. Either way, it works. Most travelers would rather land early than know they were never late to begin with. Ask any traveler what's harder, finding a cheap flight or getting a refund, and most will hesitate before answering. Because refunds, in airline language, aren't transactions. They're negotiations. Airlines have turned the art of refunding into a slow-motion obstacle course. On the surface, it looks simple. You cancel, they send money back. In reality, every step is wrapped in policy, fine print, and friction that subtly tilts in the airline's favor. The system starts with vocabulary: refundable, non-refundable, credit, voucher, rebooking. Each term sounds interchangeable until you need one. A non-refundable ticket often can be changed for a fee. A refundable one can still take weeks to process. And travel credit isn't money. It's store credit with an expiration date. Every label creates just enough confusion to keep your expectations low. Then there's the waiting. Airlines know that time dulls frustration. Instead of rejecting your request outright, they stretch the process. Emails, review periods, pending approval. The longer the process drags, the more passengers give up or settle for vouchers instead of cash. It's delay disguised as procedure, and it ends up saving airlines millions. The logic behind all this is brutal but effective. Cash refunds hit balance sheets. Travel credits keep money in-house. During the pandemic, carriers learned how much profit can hide in unused ticket value. That lesson stuck. Today, billions of dollars sit in unclaimed credits, interest-free loans from passengers to airlines. Even when you win, the victory feels hollow. The refund rarely arrives quickly, and customer service scripts are built to steer you toward rebooking. Each delay is a small nudge to take the path of least resistance, the one that keeps your money exactly where it started. There are ways through the maze, but none are fast. Always check refund conditions before booking, use credit cards with travel protection, and document every cancellation in writing. And when an airline offers you flexibility, read it as a polite way of saying, "We'll hold your cash a little longer." Refunds reveal a simple truth about air travel. The hardest part isn't losing money. It's trying to get it back once it's left your hands. Airports teach rhythm better than any classroom. When to slow down, when to move, when to look up for a sign. Every detail feels routine, Yet every routine was once someone's design. Somewhere between check-in and landing, you stop being a traveler and become part of the choreography, guided by signals so familiar you forget they were placed there on purpose. But the instant you start noticing, the tone of announcements, the hum of movement, the small decisions that never felt like decisions, the airport changes shape. What once looked like chaos reveals its pattern. And once you see that, you move differently. Not faster, not slower, just aware.